In the bustling airport terminal, a black couple strides confidently toward the first-class boarding gate, their elegant attire belying their quiet confidence. But the moment they approach the lounge, a stewardess's cold glare freezes them in their tracks. "You don't belong here," she snaps, pointing to the exit, her voice carrying across the quiet terminal like a sharp slap. What happens next will shatter the notion of power and privilege as we know it. Stay tuned because this is only the beginning. What if I told you that within minutes, everything would flip on its head, and the truth about who truly has the power in this situation would be exposed? As the couple stands there, stunned but composed, the room falls silent. Passengers glance at each other nervously, unsure of how to react. The stewardess repeats her demand. "You need to leave. Now." But the couple doesn't flinch. Instead, the man steps forward, his gaze steady and unwavering. Without a word, he pulls out his phone, sending a text that will change everything. Moments later, the airport manager arrives, clearly expecting a simple resolution to the problem, but the couple remains unfazed. The stewardess continues to argue, but her words now feel hollow, the tension in the air palpable. The onlookers, who had been silent until now, begin to shift uneasily in their seats, sensing that something bigger is at play. Then, the man, still calm, says just one line, "Check who we are." The manager, caught off guard, does exactly that. His eyes widen as he reads the names on his phone, realizing that the couple is not just any travelers, they are FAA inspectors. The room goes silent. The stewardess, now looking embarrassed, retreats. But the manager hesitates, still unsure of how to handle the situation. At this point, the couple doesn't need to say another word. They've already won. The true power dynamics have been revealed. Now, watch as the system, which had tried to push them down, begins to crumble. As the couple moves toward their seats in the first-class lounge, they make a final, decisive statement that will leave everyone questioning who truly holds the cards in this world. As the stewardess steps back, still stunned by the revelation, the room remains eerily quiet. Passengers look on, some trying to hide their shock, while others are now visibly uncomfortable with what just unfolded. The manager stands frozen, his fingers still gripping the phone as he processes the reality of the situation. For a brief moment, it feels like time has stopped. The tension in the air is thick, like a storm just before it breaks. The couple, unfazed by the growing discomfort around them, calmly sit down in the first-class lounge, their presence now a stark contrast to the chaos brewing just moments before. The woman glances at her husband, the calmness in her eyes reflecting a deep sense of control that only comes with experience. She knows exactly how this will play out. She's seen it all before. Her husband, a man of few words, leans back in his chair, not uttering a single complaint, his face unreadable, but the power in his silence is undeniable. The stewardess, still standing in the doorway, can't look them in the eye anymore. She's at a loss for words, her authority shattered in an instant. A few passengers start to whisper, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others murmuring about how things like this should never happen. The manager, having quickly gathered the facts, steps forward hesitantly, trying to regain control of the situation, but it's clear that the authority he once had has slipped away. I'm sorry," he stammers, unsure of what to say. But the couple doesn't respond. They don't need to. They've already made their point. The man, still seated, takes a deep breath and pulls out his phone again. This time, he sends a quick message to his assistant, a message that will ensure the incident doesn't just end here. Moments later, a new wave of employees arrives higher-ups from the airline, all arriving with an air of urgency, as if they've been given a command to correct the wrongs that just transpired. But the couple remains seated, their calm demeanor unshaken. The woman looks up at one of the new employees, a senior manager, who now stands at the entrance to the lounge, looking almost nervous as he approaches them. "Is there anything I can do to make this right?" he asks, his voice tentative, almost apologetic. The woman looks at him, her gaze sharp but not unkind. "Yes," she replies, her voice measured, yet with an undeniable authority. "You can ensure that no one else is ever treated like that again. You can make sure that those who are in positions of power understand that their actions have consequences." The man nods silently, the gravity of her words sinking in. The room goes quiet again, the air still thick with the weight of what just happened. The couple knows they've just changed the narrative. They didn't need to raise their voices. didn't need to scream or shout. Their quiet strength, their control over the situation, has done all the talking for them. The stewardess, now standing at the back of the lounge, is still visibly shaken. She knows she can't undo what she's done. Her face flushes with embarrassment as she avoids looking at the couple. The senior manager, now fully aware of the severity of the situation, nods once more and leaves the lounge, signaling that the airline will take immediate action. A few moments later, an official announcement comes over the loudspeaker, acknowledging the error and ensuring the passengers that this type of behavior will never be tolerated again. The couple, without ever asking for such a public apology, simply sit in silence, their victory quietly solidified. As the announcement fades, passengers start to shift in their seats, some looking at the couple with newfound respect. Others are still processing what they witnessed, but one thing is clear. This was not just a moment of personal victory for the couple. It was a lesson for everyone in the room. And as the plane finally begins to board, the couple remains seated, their presence now a symbol of power, not just over the system, but over their own lives. As the last few passengers board the plane, the couple remains seated, their calm composure still reverberating in the quiet lounge. The senior manager had left to deal with the aftermath, but the couple's presence still holds a weight in the room, like a quiet storm waiting to break. The stewardess, now in the corner, avoids their gaze, her posture stiff, clearly uncomfortable with the events that unfolded. She had been used to carrying authority, to commanding the respect of the passengers, but today, that power had been shattered. Meanwhile, the couple remains unchanged, their demeanor unfazed by the chaos that had erupted. The man, still silent, watches as the stewardess shifts uneasily. It's clear that she's beginning to understand the gravity of her actions, but it's too late for apologies now. The woman, ever composed, pulls out her tablet, not acknowledging the tension around her, and begins typing a message. It's a simple note to her assistant, but the weight behind it is undeniable. She doesn't need to speak loud. Her presence is already making a statement. Make sure the protocol is triggered, the message reads. Let's escalate this. The room remains eerily silent, save for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sounds of the boarding process. The woman's words carry a finality, but she is no longer speaking just to the people in the room. She knows her message will travel far beyond these walls. As the last few people board, the man turns his attention to the stewardess for a brief moment, his expression calm yet filled with an unspoken challenge. He doesn't say anything, but his gaze alone seems to demand an answer to the unasked question, "Do you understand now?" The stewardess, unable to hold his stare for long, looks down at her hands, her discomfort evident. The woman, sensing the weight of the moment, rises from her seat, still not acknowledging the stewardess or anyone else. She begins to walk toward the airplane gate, her stride purposeful, as the man follows beside her. The passengers who had been watching the drama unfold begin to shift uncomfortably, some still unsure of what they had just witnessed. A few glance at each other, murmuring quietly, but the silence that follows is thick with realization. These passengers had just seen power, not in the form of the loudest voice, but in quiet strength and determination. As the couple reaches the gate, the senior manager reappears, accompanied by a few security officers. His expression is a mixture of apology and urgency as he approaches them, but the couple does not break their stride. They know what's coming. The man looks over at the manager, his expression stoic, and says, "We'll be watching." "Make sure this doesn't happen again." The senior manager nods, his face reddening slightly, but it's clear that he has learned a lesson. He watches them walk past him without saying another word. With the couple now on the plane, the passengers still in the lounge are left to reflect on what they've just witnessed. Some feel uncomfortable, others confused, but none will forget the silent power the couple wielded. As the doors of the airplane close and the plane begins to taxi down the runway, the couple remains seated in their first-class seats, the quiet strength of their actions continuing to resonate in the air around them. They didn't need to shout, they didn't need to demand respect. They simply showed that their power was not in their appearance, but in their unwavering presence. The world had just learned that lesson, and it would not be forgotten anytime soon. As the plane ascends into the sky, the tension that had filled the lounge now seems like a distant memory. The couple sits in their first-class seats, the soft hum of the engines providing a strange sense of calm. The woman looks out the window, her gaze steady as she reflects on what just transpired, while the man remains silent, his mind likely focused on the details of the situation. But even in the quiet, their presence continues to carry a weight, one that is impossible to ignore. The stewardess, who had once wielded her authority with ease, is now nowhere to be found. Perhaps she's been called into a meeting. Perhaps she's too embarrassed to show her face. But it's clear that the dynamic has shifted. The man and woman share a brief glance, acknowledging the unspoken truth that they've made their point. They've shown that power doesn't always come with a loud voice. Sometimes, it's the quiet moments that carry the most impact. As the hours pass, the couple's calm remains unbroken, but the passengers on the plane can't help but feel the ripple of what they've just witnessed. A few of them glance over at the couple, unsure of what to make of the situation, but none of them dare to say anything. They've all seen the same thing, a moment of profound change, one that will linger long after the plane touches down. At one point, a flight attendant walks by, offering a polite smile, but she doesn't stop. Her eyes are downcast, avoiding the couple's gaze. It's a subtle shift, but one that speaks volumes. She knows she is not in the same position of power she once held. Meanwhile, in the airline's headquarters, the fallout from the incident is already beginning. The senior manager who had been left to deal with the aftermath is now in a meeting with higher-ups, explaining what happened, but his voice falters as he recounts the events. He can't ignore the reality that a black couple had just walked into a space they were told they didn't belong in, and within minutes, the system had crumbled. The apology he had given was just the first step, but there's no undoing the impact of what transpired. The company will now have to answer for its actions. The couple, for their part, continues their journey without fanfare. They don't need a parade. They don't need applause. The message has already been sent. They've made a point, not just to the staff at the airport, but to the world at large. Power can't always be measured by who is the loudest, who is the most visible. Sometimes, power is simply in knowing your worth and demanding that the world sees it. And as they sit there in their seats, the couple knows that this small moment, this small act of defiance, will reverberate through the system. When the plane finally touches down, the couple disembarks with the same calm confidence they've carried throughout the journey. The world may not have fully processed the magnitude of what just happened, but the couple knows this. They've won, not just because of their wealth or status, but because they stood their ground, and that alone was enough to shake the very foundation of the system they had been forced to navigate. As the couple exits the plane, they are met with the typical hustle and bustle of the airport terminal. The normal chaos of travelers rushing to baggage claim and making their way to their next destinations fills the air, but it feels different now. There is an unmistakable shift, as though the air itself is heavier, more charged. The couple moves through the crowd with the same quiet confidence they've carried throughout this entire ordeal, their presence somehow commanding attention without uttering a word. The whispers start almost immediately. A few passengers glance at them with wide eyes. Others glance at each other, exchanging knowing looks, but no one dares to speak. The couple continues walking, unfazed, moving with purpose. In the distance, they can see the airline staff, huddled together in an intense conversation, the senior manager from earlier among them. He spots the couple and immediately stops talking, his face flushing slightly with guilt and embarrassment. He knows what just happened, and he knows that this is far from over. He has seen the power in the quiet, and it has unsettled him. The couple's walk toward the exit feels almost surreal, like they are moving through an entirely different world than the one they entered hours ago. The senior manager hesitates, but then gathers the courage to approach them. The words come out awkwardly, stumbling over themselves as he finally speaks. I just wanted to apologize for the way you were treated earlier. It was unacceptable, and we're taking steps to ensure this doesn't happen again. The woman, still composed, gives him a small, almost imperceptible nod. She doesn't need to say anything. Her eyes alone convey everything. The man, walking silently beside her, doesn't even glance in the manager's direction. He simply keeps moving. The manager, understanding this silent rebuke, stands there for a moment, rooted to the spot, before slowly walking away. As they reach the exit, a couple of passengers, who had been sitting nearby, approach the couple, their faces a mix of admiration and guilt. One of them, a middle-aged woman, hesitantly speaks up. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for what happened. What you did, it was powerful. The couple turns to her, but this time they smile. The woman responds simply, thank you, but it's not about us. It's about making sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. The woman nods, clearly moved. She watches as the couple walks out of the terminal, knowing that they've left something behind, a shift in the atmosphere, a reminder that power doesn't have to be loud to be felt. The senior manager reappears in the terminal, but this time, it's different. The impact of the couple's calm, controlled response lingers in the air, and it's clear that things will never be the same for him or the airline. The system that once made assumptions based on appearances has been exposed, and its foundation is now shaken. The couple may have walked away from the airport that day, but their influence continues to ripple outward, a reminder that real power is not about the spaces we occupy, but about how we occupy them. As the couple drives away from the airport, their silent victory feels more profound than any applause ever could. They didn't need validation from the crowd. They didn't need the world to recognize their power. They already knew who they were, and that was enough. In the days to come, the incident will make headlines, and the airline will be forced to address the scandal publicly. But for the couple, it's not about the publicity or the press. It's about making a statement, one that will echo far beyond this moment and change the way people see power, dignity, and respect. Days pass, and the ripples from the couple's actions continue to spread. News outlets begin to pick up the story, with viral headlines about the airline's discrimination and the quiet strength of the black couple who turned the situation upside down. The internet reacts, some praising the couple for their calm, composed defiance, while others question the airline's practices and demand accountability. Behind the scenes, the airline executives scramble to manage the fallout. The senior manager, now deeply shaken by what transpired, attends meetings with higher-ups, discussing damage control and ways to publicly address the issue. Meanwhile, the couple, completely unaffected by the media frenzy, continues their daily lives as if nothing extraordinary has happened. Their power doesn't lie in the headlines, but in their ability to control the narrative without ever raising their voices. They know the true weight of what they've done, and they understand that this moment is only a small piece of a much larger fight. The man receives calls from corporate partners, some offering congratulations for handling the situation with such grace, others still hesitant to directly address the deeper issues the incident has uncovered. His response is always the same, calm, measured, and deliberate. "It's not about congratulations," he says. "It's about ensuring that this never happens again, for everyone." Meanwhile, the woman, as always, remains focused on the bigger picture. She spends her time quietly working behind the scenes, making calls to legal teams, ensuring that the incident is officially recorded and logged, and pushing for reforms at all levels of the company. She knows the real battle is not in the moment of confrontation, but in the long-term change that must follow. The couple understands that they've made a mark, but this is only the beginning of what will be a much larger movement. Weeks go by, and the airline finally announces a public apology. The CEO of the airline releases a statement addressing the situation, acknowledging the systemic failures that led to the incident and promising changes within the organization. However, for the couple, the apology feels hollow. It is a step in the right direction, but not nearly enough. The woman's voice remains steady as she discusses the apology with her team. "This is a start," she says, "but actions speak louder than words. We will continue to push, continue to demand change, and make sure this isn't just a momentary blip in the system." As the story continues to unfold, the couple's influence grows. They become symbols of quiet resistance, a reminder that power is not about being loud or aggressive, but about standing firm in your truth. Their ability to remain calm and unflinching in the face of injustice inspires others to do the same, showing that real strength comes from knowing who you are and demanding respect, no matter the circumstances. At the same time, the senior manager and other employees involved in the incident find themselves facing internal investigations and disciplinary actions. It's clear that the company will need to do more than issue apologies if they want to regain the trust of their customers. For the couple, however, the work is just beginning. They know that real change takes time, and they are more determined than ever to make sure that the next generation of travelers won't have to experience what they went through. As they continue to move forward, they know that the fight is not over. But they are ready, and their commitment to justice and equality is stronger than ever. As weeks go by, the couple's quiet revolution begins to take root, spreading far beyond the walls of the airline industry. They continue to lead with grace and strength, but their influence is undeniable. Their actions, simple yet powerful, have sparked conversations across the nation about racial inequality, discrimination, and the way power structures are challenged. It's not just about the airline anymore. It's about a broader systemic issue that affects every industry, every community, and every individual. The woman, ever focused, has quietly become a symbol of resilience for many. Her phone rings constantly, with people from various sectors reaching out to commend her, to seek advice, and to ask for support in navigating their own battles against inequality. But despite the praise, she remains focused on the mission at hand. It's not about accolades. It's about making sure this moment isn't a one-time event but part of an ongoing movement. She continues to push for reforms, speaking with legal teams, advocating for policy changes, and most importantly, ensuring that the people who have been marginalized have a voice. She knows the battle for equality is not a quick one, but she is unwavering in her commitment. Her husband, although more reserved, stands by her side in every step of the process. His calm demeanor serves as the perfect complement to her unwavering determination. Together, they form an unstoppable force, and their partnership is a testament to the power of unity and shared purpose. They begin to organize forums, events, and public discussions aimed at addressing systemic racism and discrimination. These efforts catch the attention of influencers, activists, and even other CEOs who are finally beginning to realize that true progress requires accountability and action. It's in these spaces where the couple's message truly resonates. It's not about attacking individuals, it's about transforming systems. They emphasize that every person has the ability to make a difference, whether it's through small acts of defiance or large-scale systemic changes. Their message spreads far and wide, igniting fires of change in places where inequality had been swept under the rug for far too long. Meanwhile, the airline's public apology starts to feel more like a hollow gesture, and their attempts to salvage their reputation fall flat. The couple's actions have revealed just how deeply ingrained the issue of discrimination is, and no amount of public relations spin can erase that reality. As the months pass, the couple continues to lead with purpose, refusing to let their fight be forgotten. They continue to make waves, both inside the boardrooms and in the streets. They refuse to be silenced, and they make it clear that they will not rest until true change has been achieved. As the story of their defiance continues to unfold, it's clear that their influence will only grow. The world is watching, and they are determined to make sure that their fight will never be in vain. With each day, the couple's power is more apparent, not just in the business world, but in the hearts and minds of people who are ready to stand up and demand justice. As the couple continues to push forward with their mission, the impact of their actions reaches a tipping point. The conversations about inequality and systemic discrimination begin to take on a life of their own. What started as a simple act of defiance at an airport has now evolved into a movement that can no longer be ignored. The couple, whose every step had been deliberate and measured, begins to see the fruits of their labor. They are approached by organizations, leaders, and activists eager to collaborate on pushing for broader societal changes. Their message of quiet resistance and power rooted in self-worth resonates deeply with communities across the country, and soon their influence reaches even further. The woman, still the driving force behind their efforts, is invited to speak at conferences, panels, and universities. Her words, carefully chosen yet packed with conviction, inspire people from all walks of life. She emphasizes that the fight for equality is not a battle for individual recognition, but a collective effort to create spaces where everyone is respected and valued. She talks about how one small act of courage can lead to a ripple effect that transforms entire systems. The man, though less public in his approach, continues to work diligently behind the scenes, offering strategic counsel and unwavering support. He knows that true change will not come from speeches alone, but from the relentless work of dismantling the systems that perpetuate inequality. Together, they begin to form partnerships with powerful advocacy groups and corporate leaders, creating a coalition dedicated to addressing systemic racism in a variety of industries. Slowly but surely, their efforts begin to yield results. Businesses start implementing diversity training and equality audits. Schools begin to prioritize inclusivity in their curricula, and legislation aimed at increasing transparency and accountability begins to make its way through state and federal governments. But even as these wins mount, the couple remains focused on the long road ahead. They know that change, especially at the systemic level, is never instantaneous, and there will be setbacks. They prepare for the challenges to come, but their resolve only strengthens with each success. Their influence grows so much that even the airline involved in the original incident is forced to take more concrete actions. They implement new policies, create a diversity and inclusion task force, and begin to publicly address their past mistakes. The couple's actions have not only changed the way that company operates, but have set a new standard for the entire industry. As the years go by, the couple's legacy becomes cemented in history. They are no longer just business leaders, they are pioneers in the fight for social justice and equality, proving that even in the face of adversity, change is possible. But even as they reflect on all that they have achieved, they know the fight is far from over. There is still work to be done, and they remain committed to the cause. The world has learned that power isn't always about visibility. Sometimes, it's about the quiet strength to stand up and demand change. The couple's journey may have started with a single confrontation, but it has transformed into a lifelong commitment to justice, one that will echo through future generations. As the years pass, the couple's commitment to social justice becomes even more ingrained in their everyday lives. Their journey, which began with a single moment of defiance at an airport, has evolved into a global movement, one that transcends industries and borders. They have become not just symbols of quiet strength, but of systemic change, showing the world that the power of one individual's voice can ripple across the globe and make an impact far beyond what anyone initially thought possible. Their influence has reached corporations, government policies, educational institutions, and grassroots organizations, all of which now seek their counsel in tackling inequality and creating lasting change. The woman, whose calm and composed demeanor has remained a cornerstone of their efforts, is now a globally recognized advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion. She travels the world, speaking at high-level conferences, engaging with world leaders, and guiding organizations on how to implement tangible changes. She still holds her values close, reminding everyone that true change must be sustainable, and it must come from within. Her messages resonate with people from all walks of life, reminding them that their individual actions matter, that standing up for what's right is always worth it, even when the fight seems impossible. The man, ever the quiet support, continues to work behind the scenes, helping to shape strategic partnerships, influence policy changes, and ensure that the couple's vision for the future remains steadfast. Together, they continue to forge a path forward, one that challenges not just individual prejudice, but the very systems that perpetuate it. Their efforts are not without challenges, of course. There are still those who resist the changes they champion, who hold on to outdated ideologies and fight to maintain the status quo. But the couple is undeterred. They have faced adversity their entire lives, and they know that change is a slow process, one that requires persistence, resilience, and unwavering belief in what's right. Their success is not defined by the number of accolades they receive or the public recognition they garner, but by the tangible shifts they create in the world. Over time, the company that had once been at the center of the controversy is transformed. Its leadership is diversified, its policies are more inclusive, and it has become a model for others in the industry. The airline's apology, though initially viewed as a mere attempt at damage control, has evolved into a genuine commitment to addressing systemic issues, largely due to the couple's influence. They have not only changed the narrative of one company, but they have reshaped the way corporations approach diversity and inclusion in the workforce. Their journey culminates in a celebration of progress, but they are the first to remind everyone that the fight is far from over. They have made great strides, but there is still work to be done. They remain committed to ensuring that future generations will not have to endure the same struggles they faced, and that one day, the world will truly be a place where equality is a reality, not just an aspiration. The couple's legacy is not one of victory over a singular enemy, but one of continuous, unrelenting progress. They have proven that no matter how small the action, no matter how quiet the voice, real change is always possible if you stand firm and stay true to your principles. As the couple continues their work to reshape the world around them, the impact of their efforts becomes undeniable. Their story has traveled far beyond the confines of the airport and the airline industry. What began as a single act of defiance in an airport lounge has blossomed into a global movement for social justice, equality, and change. Their influence is seen in boardrooms, classrooms, government halls, and in everyday conversations across the world. The couple's names are now synonymous with resilience and power, not because of their wealth or status, but because of their unwavering commitment to making the world a better, more inclusive place for everyone. The woman, with her poised and thoughtful leadership, has continued to be the face of this movement. She has become a sought-after speaker, addressing issues of racial equality, leadership, and the importance of challenging systemic oppression. Her words inspire millions, but she remains humble, constantly reminding others that real change happens when everyone stands together, united in purpose. As she speaks at one of her many conferences, she reflects on the journey that has brought her here. From the moment she and her husband were unjustly targeted at the airport, they never envisioned that their quiet strength would spark such a widespread revolution. Yet, here they are, leading a global charge for change, still grounded in the same values they held when it all began. Her husband, though still a more private figure, continues to work tirelessly behind the scenes. He knows that their work is far from over, and that the change they've ignited must be nurtured and expanded. While his wife has taken the public lead, his strategic mind has guided their efforts, ensuring that each initiative is sustainable and impactful. He has become an invaluable mentor to others, quietly supporting young leaders and activists who are committed to making change in their own communities. The couple has learned that their story is just one of many. As they continue to travel, they meet countless individuals who share similar experiences of being marginalized or overlooked, and these encounters only strengthen their resolve. They now lead a foundation that supports initiatives aimed at closing the wealth gap, increasing educational opportunities, and providing support to marginalized communities around the world. Their foundation's impact is already being felt in countries across the globe, funding programs that promote racial and social equity, empowering individuals to take control of their futures. But even as their foundation thrives, the couple knows that their fight will never be finished. They have made significant progress, but they are well aware that there is still so much work to be done. Systems of power that perpetuate inequality are deeply entrenched, and dismantling them will take time. However, the couple is more determined than ever. They know that every victory, no matter how small, is a step forward in the right direction. Their legacy is not just about what they've accomplished, but about what they've started, a movement that continues to grow, inspire, and challenge the status quo. As they sit together one evening, reflecting on everything they've achieved, they are not filled with complacency, but with a renewed sense of purpose. They've come a long way, but they are not finished yet. The world is changing, and they know they will continue to lead the charge until the change they've fought for is a reality for everyone. As the couple's influence grows, they find themselves at the forefront of a new movement that is transforming industries and communities. The world is beginning to take notice of the change they've sparked, and what was once a quiet defiance in an airport lounge has now become a powerful call for accountability and justice. Their message is clear: equality, dignity, and respect must be woven into the very fabric of every institution, and they are determined to see it through, no matter the obstacles. The woman, still the public face of their efforts, receives invitations from world leaders and organizations to participate in high-stakes discussions about diversity, equity, and inclusion. She uses these platforms to share her vision of a future where every person, regardless of their race, gender, or background, can live without fear of discrimination or injustice. As she addresses packed auditoriums, her voice is steady and firm, but always empathetic. She speaks about the necessity of confronting uncomfortable truths and the importance of building systems that uplift rather than oppress. Her words resonate with people everywhere: activists, business leaders, policymakers, and slowly, changes are beginning to take root. The man, still more reserved but just as dedicated, continues to support his wife from behind the scenes, offering counsel and helping to chart the course for their continued success. He has become an indispensable figure in the fight for social justice, not through speeches or public appearances, but through his quiet leadership and the strategic decisions he helps make. Together, they have built something that is more than just a movement. It is a foundation that will continue to affect change long after they are gone. The couple's foundation, which began as a small initiative to support marginalized communities, has expanded into a global force for good. They now fund a variety of programs aimed at empowering the disenfranchised, scholarships for underserved students, entrepreneurial grants for Black business owners, and advocacy for legislative reform. They work tirelessly to ensure that their vision for the future becomes a reality and their impact is felt worldwide. But even as their work flourishes, they know that the battle is far from over. The world is changing, but there is still much to be done. Racism, inequality, and injustice are still deeply embedded in many systems, and there will always be those who resist change. The couple faces new challenges, but they remain undeterred. Their message of hope and strength continues to inspire people to stand up for what is right, to speak out against injustice, and to never settle for the status quo. In quiet moments, when they reflect on the journey they've traveled together, they are both proud and humbled by how far they've come. What started as a simple act of resistance has now become a legacy built on the belief that one person's courage can indeed change the world. They know their story is just one of many, and they are determined to ensure that future generations of leaders will continue the fight. Their journey is far from over, but their resolve remains unshaken. As they look ahead, they understand that the road to justice is long and winding, but with each step they take, the world moves a little closer to the vision they've always had. And in the end, that vision is one where no one is judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. As time continues to pass, the couple reflects on their incredible journey. What started as an isolated incident of discrimination has evolved into a powerful global movement that has touched countless lives and reshaped entire industries. The story of their stand against injustice has become a catalyst for change, and now, as they look back on all they have accomplished, they realize that their impact will continue to grow. The fight they began, one that took them from a small airport lounge to the halls of corporations and governments, is far from over. In many ways, their journey has just begun. The woman, once the face of the movement, continues to be a guiding force for others. She works tirelessly to ensure that the work they started doesn't lose momentum, that the lessons learned from their experience are passed down to future generations. She speaks with young activists, sharing her wisdom and her story, encouraging them to continue fighting for a better world. But she is no longer doing this alone. The movement has grown so large, so powerful, that now others are stepping up to lead. The foundation they built together is thriving, funding initiatives that challenge systemic oppression and inequality. More voices are being heard, more lives are being changed, and more people are empowered to take action. The couple's influence is now undeniable. They have become household names, recognized not for their wealth or status, but for the strength of their character and their relentless pursuit of justice. Their story has inspired not just individuals, but entire communities to rise up and demand change. Meanwhile, the man, who once stood in the background, continues to support the movement in his own quiet but powerful way. He ensures that their foundation's work remains on track, that the initiatives they started continue to make a real difference. His strategic mind has guided their success, and even as they now work with other leaders and organizations, his influence remains crucial. Together, they have built a legacy that will last long after they are gone. Their efforts have changed the landscape of corporate America, forcing companies to confront their internal biases and restructure their policies. They've played a significant role in shaping public discourse, making it clear that silence in the face of injustice is no longer an option. But while they acknowledge how far they've come, they are not finished. They know that the world is still far from the equality they envision, and they are determined to keep pushing until that vision becomes reality. They continue to meet with political leaders, urging them to pass legislation that ensures racial equality and systemic reform. They remain unwavering in their commitment to justice, knowing that true progress requires perseverance, collaboration, and the courage to stand up, even when the road ahead seems uncertain. As they sit together one evening, watching the sun set, the couple reflects on the incredible journey they've taken. They know that their fight for equality is far from over, but they are no longer fighting alone. The world is watching, and with each step they take, they are changing it, one person at a time. They may have started with a single moment of resistance, but now they are part of something much bigger, a movement that will continue to grow, evolve, and change the world for generations to come.